There was a time when Alexander believed that money could make him greater than everyone else. He lived in a magnificent mansion at the heart of a bustling city. His clothes were expensive, his cars were luxurious, his bank accounts were overflowing. And yet, despite having everything money could buy, Alexander possessed something far more dangerous than wealth, an arrogant heart. He believed poor people were beneath him. He ignored those who needed help, and whenever someone dared to challenge his superiority, Alexander reminded them of how much richer and more powerful he was. He had wealth, he had status, he had influence, but he had no real friends, no genuine happiness, and no idea how empty his life had become. One afternoon, Alexander was walking through the city when he noticed an old beggar sitting beside the road. The man's clothes were torn. His face was weathered by years of hardship. A few coins rested in his trembling hand. As Alexander approached, the beggar quietly stretched out his hand. "Please, sir, anything will help." Alexander stopped. He looked at the man's hand, then at his face, and sneered. "Get out of my way." The old man said nothing. Alexander's arrogance grew. "People like you should stop expecting others to solve your problems." The beggar simply lowered his eyes. Alexander walked past him, but then he stopped. Something inside him made him turn around. He walked back to the beggar and kicked the few coins from his hand. The coins scattered across the pavement. Alexander smiled coldly. "That's all you're worth." Then he walked away. He had no idea that those would be the last arrogant words he would speak for a very long time. A few minutes later, something strange happened. Alexander suddenly felt dizzy. The sounds of the city became distant. The buildings around him seemed to spin. He tried to steady himself, but everything went black. When Alexander opened his eyes, he was no longer in the city. He was standing inside a vast, dark chamber. There were no windows, no doors, only silence. And surrounding him were mysterious figures dressed in dark robes. Alexander looked around in confusion. "Where am I?" A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "You are standing before the court of consequences." Alexander's heart began to race. What does that mean? A figure slowly stepped forward. Its face was hidden beneath a shadowed hood. "I am the arbiter," Alexander swallowed. "Who are you?" "I am not here to tell you who I am." The arbiter's voice grew colder. "I am here to show you who you have become." The arbiter raised one hand. Suddenly, the darkness came alive. Images appeared before Alexander. He saw himself humiliating employees. He saw himself refusing to help people who desperately needed assistance. He saw himself laughing at the poor. He saw every insult, every selfish decision, every moment when he had chosen pride over kindness. But this time, Alexander didn't see those moments through his own eyes. He saw them through the eyes of the people he had hurt. He saw the fear in an employee's face after Alexander had threatened to fire him. He saw the tears of a woman whose request for help he had casually ignored. He saw the loneliness of the old beggar sitting alone on the street, and then he saw himself kicking away those few coins. Alexander's face turned pale. "Stop," the images continued. "Please, stop." But the arbiter did not stop. Finally, the chamber became silent again. The arbiter looked directly at Alexander. "Now tell me, what did your wealth make you?" Alexander couldn't answer. The arbiter continued. "Did it make you kind?" Alexander lowered his head. "No." "Did it make you wise?" "No." "Did it make you loved?" Alexander's eyes filled with tears. "No." The arbiter stepped closer. "Then what did it make you?" Alexander looked at the ground, alone. For the first time in his life, Alexander spoke the truth without trying to impress anyone. "I thought I was better than everyone." His voice trembled. "I thought money made me important." He wiped a tear from his face. "But I was wrong." The arbiter remained silent. Alexander looked up. "I want to change." The arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. "Wanting to change is easy. Changing is difficult." Then the arbiter presented Alexander with two paths. "Continue as you were, and your arrogance will become your eternal prison." Alexander stared at the first path. Then the arbiter revealed the second. "Or return to the world. Give your wealth a purpose. Repair what you have broken, and spend the rest of your life becoming the man you should have been." Alexander didn't hesitate. "I choose the second path." The arbiter nodded. "Then remember this. Your second chance is not a reward. It is a responsibility." Suddenly, everything disappeared. Alexander opened his eyes. He was lying on the same street where he had collapsed. People were gathered around him. The city was moving as usual, but Alexander was no longer the same man. His first thought was the beggar. He immediately stood up and began searching. Finally, he found him sitting beneath a tree. Alexander walked toward him. The old man looked up. Alexander knelt beside him. For a moment, he couldn't speak. Then he said quietly, "I'm sorry." The beggar looked surprised. Alexander continued, "I treated you like you were worthless." He reached into his pocket, but this time he didn't throw money at him. He offered his hand. "You deserved better." The old man slowly accepted his hand, and that was the beginning of Alexander's transformation. He began helping people, not for praise, not for publicity, and not to increase his reputation. He helped because he finally understood something. Wealth has no meaning when it never leaves your hands. Alexander funded schools. He helped build hospitals. He supported struggling families. He created opportunities for people who had been forgotten by society. But the greatest change wasn't in his bank account. It was in his heart. The man who once looked down on everyone now listened to everyone. The man who once demanded respect now gave respect. And the man who once believed he was superior finally understood that true greatness has nothing to do with how much a person owns. Years later, people remembered Alexander not because he had been rich, but because he had learned how to be human. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson of all. Money can buy a mansion, but it cannot create a home. Money can buy attention, but it cannot create love. Money can give you power, but it cannot give you character. In the end, your true worth is not measured by what you possess. It is measured by the lives you touch, by the kindness you give, by the people you help, and by the person you become when nobody is watching. Because sometimes, the greatest punishment isn't losing your wealth. It's finally realizing how poor your heart had become. And sometimes the greatest gift isn't receiving a second chance. It's becoming worthy of the chance you were given. So remember, never let success make you look down on those who have less. Because life has a way of reminding us. We are all human beneath the wealth, the titles, and the pride. Thank you for watching English Gateway. If this story touched your heart, remember its lesson. True greatness begins with humility.